Call me, Pete me, if you wanna reach me.
A Monster Calls, released in 2016 and is directed by J.A. Bayona, who has also directed such films like The Orphanage, The Impossible, and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And this film is starring Louis McDougall, Sigourney Weaver, Toby Kebbell, and Felicity Jones. Stephen the Children! And I am reviewing this movie because it was sent to me as a recommendation through PayPal with a donation attached to it from a man known as Dean Clark. Thank you very, very much, Dean, for your recommendation. I can't thank you enough, and how humble I am to receive any donation at all from anyone, and you are very gracious in, I guess, giving a little bit of your patronage to me. I greatly appreciate it. If any of you want to be like Dean and want to help support me and help support this channel and help it grow into something bigger than what it's been for the last couple of years, you can make a PayPal donation by clicking on the donate button on my homepage. It's right there in the banner, and if you have a movie that you really want me to watch and review for you and give you a little shout out, you can attach your recommendation with your donation. If I have access to it, I will watch it and publish my review of it as quickly as I possibly can. I wanted to do these PayPal donations after we got to episode 400 last week, because I didn't want to throw up the numbering and throw up the schedule with that, but now that we're on the path to the next big milestone, which is episode 500, now we can get these in, and here they are, episode 401 and episode 402. A Monster Calls is a dark fantasy film following the life of 12-year-old Connor O'Malley, who is dealing with the fact that his mother is seriously ill with cancer. And to help him cope with his suffering mother, his imagination gets the best of him, and he is visited by one big giant tree monster who is voiced by Liam Neeson. And the monster tells Connor that he is going to tell him 3 different stories, all having their own different meaning and purpose behind them, while he'll be forcing Connor to tell him a 4th tale that deals with the nightmares that Connor has been having, and forcing Connor to voice the truth that he has been hiding deep down inside of himself. This movie is free on Netflix, and if you are emotionally prepared for it, this movie is a must-watch. I remember hearing about this movie. I actually don't think I even saw the trailers for it, but I do remember hearing about it in 2016, and I heard amazing things from critics and reviewers about this film, but I never heard about any, big, massive theatrical run for this movie, even though it had it late in 2016. This movie bombed. When it opened up here in the US, it didn't even make the top 10 at the box office, which, I mean, you're DOA if that's the case. And then after that, I never heard about this movie after, or anyone talking about it. I would go out Black Friday shopping, and I would always see it for cheap, but I was always like, I'm good. And I'd see it in bargain bins, and I would still be like, well, I'm actually okay. Shame on me for thinking that, because this movie is wonderful. Wonderful in a very depressing and emotional sense. I watched this movie last night, and I don't think I was mentally prepared for the actual story that was happening here, and prepared for it to actually hit me right here, because it did, and all of a sudden I find myself just laying in bed, and I'm crying. I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god! And I was scared at first going into this, because I heard a little bit of the plot, how this character is visited by monsters and he's dealing with his dying mother who's dying of cancer. And I remember seeing a movie called I Kill Giants, which researched it. It actually came out after this movie, but I watched it a couple of years ago, so I saw it first. And I did not like that movie at all. It dealt with the same themes of this kid using their imagination to escape from the dark reality and the seriousness of, hey, your mother, your parent, your adult in your life is dying, and I know you don't want to deal with it, so you can escape to this imaginary kingdom that you're in. I thought this movie was going to be like that, so I was like, this is probably not going to be that good. And it is like that, kind of at the core of itself, but this film is done masterfully 100 times better than I Kill Giants. This movie is tremendous. And shockingly, the visual effects are part of the thing that makes this film great. The CGI on this monster looks beautiful. At times, he looks menacing. At times, he looks lovable. At times, he looks real. And the transitions from going into the practical tree and then to the CGI tree are seamless. Wow. Very impressive. But then when we go actually into the fantasy world and the stories that this monster is telling, we get all CGI on the screen, and it's all this water painting, watercolor type animation, and I've never seen that type of animation before on screen, and it's stunning. Again, I say this word a lot, but it's beautiful. Beautiful, it's horrifying, it can be scary. It's tremendous. I love this thing. The sound, the way they amplify Liam Neeson's voice, the sound of the tree and him stomping around and moving around are incredible. I just remember listening to it like this movie sounds amazing. And then you take that aside and you get to the real world and the real world actors, and you think, oh my god, this child actor is one of the best actors that I've seen in films this year. And that's saying a lot, because when it comes to child actors, I'm lukewarm at best. There have been a couple of performances out there where I'm like, wow, you've outshined every single person on screen, the adults, everyone. This kid does that in this film. We follow him every single second. This is his journey, this is his story, this is his conflict, his internal conflict, his love for his mother, his at times hatred for his mother, and trying to grasp and understand the situation and what's going on. And the movie beautifully shows the hardships and the struggles of watching a loved one, watching someone just deteriorate from a virus, from a disease in front of your eyes, and how long and strenuous and how much of a burden that could be. This kid's emotional journey is, he's more adult than the adults in this movie. And that's not saying the actors who play the adults in this film are terrible, because they're not. Even though I'm not a big fan of Sigourney Weaver, I really haven't liked anything of hers. I've liked movies that she's been in, but in terms of her performances, I've always been like, I'm still like that in this movie with her. I'm thinking, you're okay, but let's go back to the kid, please. Felicity Jones, who plays Connor's mother, and the makeup, the physicality. I'm sure there was a couple of CGI moments in there too, where her body is just, bone skinny. It's haunting how well she did here. Toby Kebbell, I wish, was on screen more, and just to see that relationship. He plays Connor's father, an absent father, and I wish we just would have seen that relationship just a little bit more, because we establish it, but we don't really go far into depth with it. But again, the movie is focusing mainly on Connor and the inner anger that he has over his life and over this situation. How much he hates this thing that his mother is fighting, and if she keeps fighting, of course she's going to get better, even though in reality she's not. And I think there's a side of Connor where he realizes that, but doesn't want to believe that. And I think that's why this monster comes a-calling. This movie is an emotional journey. So if you are prepared for that, if you're ready for that, this thing is on Netflix. Go watch this right now. Anyone who has had loved ones, parents, grandparents, children of theirs go through something like this, where you just see the pain that they're in for months, for years, and you just see them, I don't want to say waste away, but they're just deteriorating in front of your eyes. And the emotions that play on you, yes, it's terrible for the person that's actually going through it, but there's also a virus, an emotional toll that takes its hold on the people around that person in that situation, to the point where you almost feel like, I wish this was over, just the ending of all this suffering for me, for my loved one, just having this over. And then you think to yourself, I feel totally guilty even thinking that. I shouldn't be thinking that, even though you're human and you're allowed to be vulnerable. That's really the big message behind this movie, is that you're human and you are allowed to feel things. You are allowed to be vulnerable. You are allowed to break down and cry. You are allowed to be angry and take out your frustrations. You should do that. It's a healthy thing to do. But if you don't deal with those emotions, then they just bottle up inside to the point where they take a toll on you later on in your life. I know from my own personal experience, and I'm sure many of you out there know that from your own personal experience as well. I wish this movie did well at the box office, because this movie deserves way more praise than what it got from just general audiences. Critics love this movie. I think this movie has like an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, but if you want to put a number to it, this film rates pretty high amongst critics. This is one of the best movies I reviewed this year. I'm not sure if it's going to make my top 10, but will definitely be in the top 20 at least. It's really good. It's one of the biggest recommendations I can give you to watch this year. I'm going to give A Monster Calls 4.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos, where I randomly select which movie I'm going to be watching next, so let's take a look. 007 Moonraker. Moonraker. Oh, that's the Goldfinger song. What's the Moonraker song? I haven't seen this movie in so long. But it's James Bond in space. What more do you need? Take me around the world again, James, one more time. Roger Moore's James Bond, and Roger Moore, he was always the campier James Bond, I think. So, I haven't seen this movie in forever. I remember watching this movie a lot. Growing up as a kid, we had a VHS tape of it. It was one of the only James Bond films that we had, so I would watch it on repeat a couple of times. So, Moonraker, James Bond, let's watch this. So guys, if you've seen A Monster Calls, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Moonraker. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.